Yo, man, this chapter was hype. I was actually really feeling this chapter. Now, on the one hand, I will forever be disappointed with the ways that Who's Who, Sasaki, and Page One went down. I'm sorry, the men went down way too fast for my liking. It felt like the girls put up far more of a fight as much as they could. But it's just like I wanted like at least one more chapter each of seeing Who's Who, Sasaki, and even Page One just kind of throw down a little bit more. That's the one thing I'm greatly saddened by, and I feel that I'll probably enjoy it just a little bit more in the anime. But it has been officially announced by the narrator, thus it has been spoken into law. The Tobiropo are down. Meanwhile, we find that Onigashima is going to reach the flower capital in 15 minutes. And it is an extreme ticking clock at this point. We also end up cutting to one of the lesser battles, but not the least of battles, as we have Rhizo versus Fukurokuju. And we get to see some of their Nimpo abilities, with Rhizo using the Shadow Clone Jutsu. As of all things, Fukurokuju apparently can use his earlobes to attack people like crackers. You know, the balls on string kind of thing. If you've seen JoJo Part 2 Battle Tendencies, you know what I'm talking about. Cracker Vorai! As Rhizo and Fukurokuju go back and forth on their stances in terms of serving their individual lords, with Fukurokuju saying that a ninja's place is to serve the shogun, no matter what, whereas Rhizo, he pursued his heart in serving Odin. And unfortunately, when Fukurokuju speaks ill of Odin, Rhizo reacts to it and gives away his place amongst the various different shadow clones. And Fukurokuju mentions the fact that Rhizo was always a little too emotional to be a ninja in his opinion. That is what dragged him down. He's a great ninja, he's just too soft for this line of work. But Rhizo finds this to be the contrary, that he was happy to almost perish with his lord, that he did perish, that all the scabbards perished, and they are nothing more than ghosts. We chose this line of work. We chose to pursue the downfall of Orochi and Kaido, and it will be this day, and Momonosuke will be the shogun. And I'm just like, yeah, Rhizo, yeah! And we get small glimpses of what's going on with the various different scabbards. Except, of course, for Kanjuro. May he rot in pieces. But we see that Kawamatsu is, and I'm assuming, if I remember correctly, he's headed towards the performance floor. Kinemon is down. Nekomamushi is also headed to the performance floor, which we see later. I'm not actually sure where Denjiro is headed toward. We see Kiku down and poor Izo, who is also, as far as I know, also headed towards the performance floor. And I do hope that, if nothing else, Kiku lives just so that she can be with her brother at least one more time. It's too cruel to have Kiku killed off somewhere else and not even be fully reunited with her brother. It's so sad. And we also see Ashura Doji just laid out in the snow. Inuarashi, who should be battling against Jack, doesn't seem like he's worse for wear, so maybe the battle against Jack is going pretty well, or they're at least at a standstill. We then also cut back in with the fight of Killer versus Hawkins, as Killer has just been stabbing into Hawkins left, right, and center, but because of his straw dolls, his straw voodoo dolls, that caused the harm to be cast onto a different person, I mean, Hawkins is doing pretty good, although he does mention that he's starting to run a little bit out of straw dolls. But Hawkins decides to kind of shake Killer by saying, it's not about how many straw dolls I have left, it's about whose lives have you been cutting into? As we see over with the fight of Law and Kid versus Big Mom, that Kid has been stabbed. in weird places. And he's just like, where are all these stab wounds coming from? And thus Killer is given the information that he's actually been harming Kid because of Hawkins. And Hawkins takes the most devious turn. He was already kind of a creepy bastard, but this right here really takes the cake. As at first he wanted to just have Killer potentially kill Kid and just tell him after the fact, but he just wanted to see Killer squirm. So he's interested to see what Killer will do next. And Killer, he laughs and says, I like your style. So I'm really kind of wondering, does Killer have a plan here? So I'm not sure if Killer has a plan or what's he got going on under this mask. It really kind of sucks because once again, Kid is kind of getting the shaft in the battle. If nothing else, it's just like, man, Kid just really cannot catch a break in any of the fights that he has. Speaking of which, we see on the performance floor, Queen and King are rampaging, taking out anyone who has betrayed the Animal Kingdom Pirates or the Beast Kingdom Pirates. I prefer Beast Kingdom Pirates, but whatever. We see that Marco, he's pretty much down for the most part. He's just reached his limit, and it's not because they beat his ass, it's just that he's exhausted for taking on two commanders at once. You're like someone like Marco, he's even with one of them and could potentially beat one of them, but taking on two of these bastards at the same time is like, yeah, no, I hit my limitation. And even Sanji, who apparently was trying to keep Zoro from getting injured, he's been kind of running up against the wall as well. Or as the medicine still has yet to take full effect on Zoro. So Sanji, being the trooper that he is, goes back and delivers a kick to Queen that knocks him off guard. But King is determined to end Zoro, as he knows that Chopper is looking to heal him and get him back into the fight. Meanwhile, Perospero, he's up on like this candy tower that he's created and is actually looking to snipe Sanji from afar, particularly as revenge for the events of the wedding to Pudding. Like, Perospero really be on some petty shit, but thankfully in comes Nekamamushi looking to get some paid back for Pedro, and sends Nekamamushi crashing outside. I guess Garfield doesn't like candy that much. Meanwhile, some of the samurai are trying their best to keep Zoro out of the hands of any of the Animal Kingdom pirate, only for them to end up running up against King, who tries to go in with an attack. But thankfully it ends up being blocked by Marco at the last second. And then, of course, as Oda tends to do, he decides to drop a little bit of lore, saying that long ago he heard tales of a race of people who were atop the red line who had the ability to burst into flame. And he questions if King the Wildfire, or Conflagration, whichever you choose, might be a part of that race. But this ends up being interrupted by the arrival of Queen, who's just like, the Whitebeard pirates are dead, get the fuck out of here! But Marco actually chooses to back down, as he notices some ripping sounds from the bandaged up Zoro behind him, as he says that it's time for the stars to take the stage, as Sanji and Zoro go in on King and Queen respectively, with some of their best attacks, saying to each other that it looks like it's almost time for Luffy to become the king of the pirates. They've caught a glimpse of it. Well, they're about to, at least. I love it. I love seeing these two work together, do their thing, and have their common faith in Luffy at the forefront of things. It just gives me this warm and fuzzy feeling deep down in my soul. Thankfully, we're not on break next week, thank goodness. But this really is like the biggest injury that King has gotten so far. Queen has been knocked around a few times during the course of things, but King, he had been almost completely unfazed by everyone except Marco, and Marco ended up looking worse for wear than anyone up until this point. But seriously, what is King's people? They were living atop the red line? Were they celestial dragons? Like, that just raises even more questions about King and his race. Like, why does he have wings? Wings he can actually fly with. Why are they able to burst into flames? Is this an allusion to Icarus? I'm not quite certain. It really is hard to figure out what King could possibly be an allusion to. Does he have any relation to the Shandians, the Skypeans, and the Birkins? Again, because their wings don't work as far as we know, so it's really hard to tell. I swear, Oda, you just keep coming up with all these plot lines and mysteries. How are you going to answer all of this within the next 5 or so years? And Perospero going up against Nekomamushi, it feels like that's going to be a baby shake. I can't see Perospero being that capable of against Nekomamushi. I would have loved to have seen Carrot get back into the fight, and I still feel like that might be a possibility, but oh no, who knows? Time will tell. But I am at a bit of a loss as to the whole Killer versus Hawkins situation. How is he going to get around that? Maybe cut off Hawkins' arm? And since Kid is already missing an arm, that would be the best way to quote-unquote disarm him. I mean, that feels like the best way to go about things. You're not really going to be able to be much of a problem bleeding out on the floor, missing an arm, so that feels like that's a good solution to that, if nothing else. Because I can't see Killer losing this fight. As capable as Hawkins is, there's gotta be a way around his capabilities and his power. He feels just too invincible up until this point. There's gotta be a downside. And Rhizo versus Fukurokuju, I love this speech, but at the same time, I'm just like, come on, Rhizo. You've gotta be more powerful than friggin' Fukurokuju. We haven't seen Fukurokuju do enough for me to actually feel like he's a threat. So either I need to be shown just how capable Fukurokuju is outside of whipping around his earlobes, or Rhizo needs to end this thing as soon as possible. But with 15 minutes on the clock, I don't know. And how Luffy is even going to get up to Onigashima, we haven't seen the situation with Momonosuke and Shinobu, but I still feel like that's too little of an amount of time for Luffy to just instantly make it back up there. Something's gonna go wrong here. I just feel it. But I'm still disappointed that so many of the Toburokupo are already down for the count. I was hoping at least a little bit more around Who's Who and Sasaki. Sasaki especially. We never got that answer to the theory if he had anything to do with Kokoro. I'm just like, oh, come on, man. That felt like a slam dunk theory. But hey, tell me your thoughts in the comments section below. Which fight are you looking forward to the most? What do you think about Sanji and Zoro's showing as the wings of the Pirate King? What the heck is King? Just any question you might have had, let me know what you think the answer to it is in the comment section below. If you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for notifications. And until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.